Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lambhayate Girim Yatripātamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. So we were looking at the Shraddha Van Labhate Jnana, correct? So I had told you in this context that Shraddha means having astikya buddhi in whatever the Veda says. That means whatever the Veda says is valid knowledge. We accept that. That is Shraddha. That means we consider Veda as a means of knowledge. They said it is a pramanam for us. So I thought I will also explain to you a little bit about how do we look at Prama. Prama means valid knowledge. Okay, Jnanam. There is also Brahma. Brahma means error. Correct? Bhranti and all we say, correct? Bhranti or Brahma is error. Prama is valid knowledge. And Pramanam means Pramakaranam. The means of valid knowledge is called Pramanam. So we should have a certain understanding of how we look at knowledge itself. The study of knowledge is called epistemology in modern English at least. So we have to understand that there are different theories about how knowledge takes place and what are all the different valid means of knowledge. How many means of knowledge do we accept as valid? These things only vary from darshana to darshana. Within in our Indian tradition only, we say that there are Nastika Darshana, Astika Darshana. Like that, there is a first categorization is there. So there are 6 Astika Darshana, 6 Nastika Darshana. The six Nastika Darshana, 4 of them are Buddhist. Different types of Buddhists are there. Okay, they say one is the Madhyamika, who is also called Shunyavadi. Then there is a Yogachara, who is a Kshanika Vijnanavadi, he is called, because he talks about a momentary consciousness. Then there is a Sautrantika and Vaibhashika, like that. There are 2 more types of Buddhists. Then there Jainas are there. They are also Nastika because they don't accept the Veda. And then the Charvakas are there, the materialists. Like this, we say that, in fact, there is a book called, there is another book which lists all these different darshanas. Sarva Siddhanta Sangraha, like that. In that, many more are also talked about, but in general, we talk about 12 darshanas. 6 like this. Then in Astika Darshana also, we have 6 darshanas which accept the Veda as a pramana. But even in that, Vedantin alone accepts the Veda as the primary pramana, like I told you. Even though others accept the Veda, for them Veda is secondary. Mostly Pratyaksha Anumana are primary. Okay, in that, or even this Vaisheshikas are also sometimes called as Ardha Vainashika, or like they are also like half Buddhist and all that. So the Vaisheshikas are also Astika because they accept the Veda, but for them only Tarka is Pradhana. They are Tarka Pradhana. Veda is only secondary for them. Vaisheshika and Nayayika. So the Vaisheshikas are our original like scientists, in the sense that they only gave the original atomic theory. They only said that there are so many padarthas, and again they all have Paramanu as the basis. So they proposed many Paramanus. For each Mahabhuta, there is a Paramanu. Like that, they have their theory. The Paramanus themselves are indivisible and eternal. But when they come together, when they are in equilibrium, there is no Srishti. That is Layam, according to them. But when the equilibrium is disturbed, these Paramanus come together and form Dvenut. So 2 Paramanus form Dvenut. And then 3 Dvenuts form a Trenut. And that's how then everything is become visible and you can see all these Mahabhutas, etc. Like this, they have a theory. Anyway, so they accept, but they accept a few Pramanas, but Veda also they accept. So together, normally we talk about the Vaisheshika and Nayayikas only propose they are the original Pramana Patavaha, they are known as. They are the ones who talk about means of knowledge, how to do inference, what is fallacious reasoning. all these things they have analyzed a lot. The Nayayikas have analyzed about Pramana. The Vaisheshikas have analyzed. Vaisheshikas are more metaphysicists. Correct? They have analyzed the world and they are proposing a theory, atomic theory, for the creation of the world and all that. The Nayayikas are the original epistemologists. They are more concerned about knowledge, how knowledge takes place, how to do inference, etc. Now these two, they came together because the Vaisheshikas accepted the epistemology of Nayayika and Nayayikas accepted the metaphysics of Vaisheshika, and then they both are together called Tarkika in general. Okay, they are the logicians and they accept 4 Pramanas. Pratyaksha, Anumana, of course, everybody accepts. In fact, only the Charvaka is said to not even accept Anumana. Charvakas only accept Pratyaksha, it is said. But otherwise, in general, Pratyaksha, Anumana, everybody accepts. Even the Nastikas accept Pratyaksha and Anumana. Then the Tarkikas, they accept Veda and also Upamana. These are the 4 Pramanas accepted by the Nyaya Vaisheshika people. And then we have Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya and Yoga also is similar. All these people only accept 4 Pramanas. The Purva Mimamsaka accepts Arthapatti also. Arthapatti is the 2-step inference I told you, correct? And then the Purva Mimamsaka, in Purva Mimamsaka again, there are Bhatta Mimamsakas are there. They also accept something called Anupalabdhi, means cognition of absence. Cognition of absence is not accepted as Indriya Pratyaksha by the Purva Mimamsaka. They say that the Bhatta Mimamsaka say, because the eyes can only see existence. Eyes cannot see non-existence, correct? If you say pot is not on the table, the actual perception is only of the table. Pot is something you bring in your mind and then say pot is not there, correct? Actually what you are seeing is table. So Indriyas cannot reveal non-existence, like that there is an argument. So how you then perceive non-existence means there is a separate process is happening in your mind. Along with the Indriya Pratyaksha, one more process is happening and together only you cognize the, and also even there you have to have reasoning like, given all the existing conditions, if a pot was there, it must have been visible. But since it is not visible now, the pot is non-existent on this locus. Like this, the knowledge takes place, they describe. So that process is different. It is not simple Indriya Pratyaksha, so it is counted as a separate means of knowledge. Is it clear? That is called Anupalabdhi. So like this, the 6 Pramanas only are accepted traditionally. Sometimes the Pauranikas and all, they include Purana, Aitihyam and all that, tradition and all that. Also some people add, but all that has to come under Shabda Pramana only, because all of them, Shabda is taken as a Pramana or words. But even though words means Laukika Shabda, Vaidika Shabda, like that is there. Laukika Shabda means anybody who is telling you something is all Shabda Pramana, correct? You are sitting in Chennai, somebody is talking about Himalayas, means you have never been to the Himalaya. Means you only know about Himalaya from somebody's words, correct? Or some book is describing that. That is all Laukika Shabda. Then Vaidika Shabda means whatever the Vedas are revealing. So these are the 6 Pramanas accepted, or these are the 6 Pramanas. Not everybody accepts everything, but the Purva Mimamsaka and the Vedantin, we accept all the 6. So for us, there are 6 valid means of knowledge. In that, Pratyaksha is the sense perception to start with. That we are all very familiar. We all use our Indriyas all the time. We know what is Pratyaksha. Indriya Pratyaksha gives you direct knowledge. And then Anumana means if there is no direct knowledge, but still based on invariable concomitance, we say, correct? So invariable concomitance means what? Wherever there is smoke, there has to be fire. That knowledge you should already have, because you have already seen it in the kitchen. Whenever there is smoke in the kitchen, there is fire in the kitchen, correct? That means you have a knowledge of invariable concomitance. And if fire is not there, smoke also should not be there. Correct? First, this all, both ways it should be actually. then only fire alone is the cause for smoke you have to establish. Then only the invariable concomitance is valid. Is that clear to you? You can say wherever, if you have only observed wherever smoke, fire is there. But for smoke, some other karana also can be there. But you have to be sure that if fire is not there, smoke should not be there. If smoke is there, fire should be there. Is that clear? That way you have to establish. That is what is called invariable concomitance. Correct? So both ways, positively also you have to establish the connection. Negatively also you have to establish the absence. Then only it is tight. Based on that, whenever you see smoke, but you are not actually seeing the fire, because the mountain is too far, only smoke is visible. Fire is not visible, but still we can do an anumana that pakshe. In fact, whenever you do anumana, the paksha is also important. Where it is happening, correct? So wherever you see the smoke, there only you can say fire is there. You see smoke in one mountain, you cannot say fire is there in another mountain. So like that, the hetu is there in the paksha. Means here the hetu is the smoke. It is there on the hill, therefore hill is on fire. Like that, the anumiti is the inferential knowledge, and through inference we have known something, even though it was not visible to us. It is paroksha. This is all anumana. In anumana, invariable concomitance is involved. And shabda, we know words. Words also reveal knowledge. Again, in all these things, there are a lot of discussions are there. If you are all interested in Pramana, I have my own, there is a book called Vedanta Paribhasha. It extensively deals with all this Pramana only. And I have conducted classes on that a few years back. It is there in the YouTube also. I think some 76 classes or something are there. So it's like one semester course or something. Okay. If you want to go and listen, you can do that. It's very detailed argument. Different people have different arguments for every pramana. In fact. Okay, that's the interesting thing. Because how we define each pramana, even what is valid knowledge, how knowledge takes place, in none of this there is any consensus. So, anyway, words, because the Nayayik, some people say words can only give indirect knowledge. But the Vedantin cannot accept that, because Tattvamasi we say gives you Aparoksha Jnanam and all that, correct? So Vedantin says, if the object which the word describes is remote, then that is correct. Like if Veda says there is Swarga, means that is indirect knowledge, Paroksha Jnana. But if the Veda is talking about yourself, self is always available. If the object of knowledge which the word is referring to is already experienced by you, but you still do not know that, because experience can be done, I told you, correct? Then the knowledge has to be direct, because already the object is being experienced. But the knowledge about that can be revealed by the word. So we say that word can give both direct knowledge and indirect knowledge. Like this, with reference to words also, or shabda also, there are some discussions are there. Then there is upamana, means by comparison also we learn certain things. But even in comparison, there are differences between Vedantin and the Nayayikas also, I think. In fact, most of our discussions on Pramana, we just lift from the Purva Mimamsakas. But only in few things we disagree with them. But otherwise, Vyavahare Bhatta Nayaha, like that there is a saying is there. Means the Vedantins, we follow the Bhatta Mimamsakas in most of the principles in the Vyavahara. Whatever they have established, we go. Kumarila Bhatta, correct? Kumarila Bhatta was a great Mimamsaka. In fact, he single-handedly destroyed the Buddhists. There is a Shloka Vartika like that. His Vartika is there on the Purva Mimamsa Bhashya. It's a masterpiece. Okay. So, Kumarila Bhatta was a great Mimamsaka, And Shankaracharya was supposed to be a contemporary and all that, if you read the Shankara Vijaya. And Kumarila Bhatta only directs Shankaracharya to Sureshwara, who was called Mandana Mishra in Purvashrama and all that. That is the story. And then they debate, correct? Shankara and Mandana Mishra debate that is very famous. And the moderator is Mandana Mishra's wife, who is Ubhaya Bharati. Like that, the story is there. Anyway, so here, Upamana is comparison. Through comparison, we know certain things. And then I said Arthapati is two-step inference. So two-step inference means it is not based on invariable concomitance, but you have two pieces of knowledge, but they look contradictory. Like I said, correct? Pino Devadattaha Dinena Bhunte. The fat Devadatta does not eat during the day. So fat Devadatta is always fat, never loses any weight. That is one piece of knowledge. And this person, you don't see him eating at all. He is sitting in one place. You see him throughout the day. That means what? He has to be eating at night. Otherwise, it is not possible. Correct? Anyatha anupapattihi arthapattihi, it is said. Otherwise, it is not possible like that. If you have to reconcile two pieces of knowledge by saying otherwise it is not possible, and whatever conclusion you arrive at there, that is called arthapatti. And sometimes, but Nayayikas and all, they want to include it into the inference itself, Anumana, but the Purva Mimamsaka does not accept that. They say that Anumana is only based on invariable concomitance. This is different, because this you have to arrive at by saying Anyatha Anupapattihi. So, and there one cognition is enough. You can only see just the smoke. Based on that, you can say fire is there. But here two cognitions are involved at the same time, and based on that, you have to arrive at and all that. They make a difference. Okay. Anyway, that is called Arthapati, but we can broadly include it in different types of inference. You can say one is one-step inference, another is two-step inference you can take. Then finally, I talked about already Anupalabdhi, which is the cognition of absence. As I told you, the Purva Mimamsakas say that absence cannot be cognized by Indriya. Indriya can only cognize presence. Absence is only a notion in your mind, correct? So, that is a different process which is taking place, due to which you get this knowledge of absence. So, these are the 6 valid means of knowledge. Is that clear? Now, in all these valid means of knowledge, the important thing is, what is this knowledge itself, which we are talking about, which we say as valid means, valid knowledge and all that. There only the characteristics of valid knowledge we have to understand. The characteristics of valid knowledge is that first it should be revealed to us by a means of knowledge, and whatever is revealed should be unique. It should not be available through any other means of knowledge. That is what is called anadhigatam. Because if you have already known it, it becomes memory. Whatever is already known becomes memory. So whatever you know newly, uniquely alone is knowledge. So it has to be anadhigatam, not known. Then there is a question, but see what kind of thinking they have. Then one person says you keep on looking at it. Then what? It is a series of cognition, correct? You keep on looking at something, a series of cognitions are there. Then does it not go against your anadhigatam, because you are seeing the same thing? You look at, like we used to play in school, correct? Whoever blinks first loses. You keep on looking at the other guy's eyes. You will also have tears in your face and all that. We used to play that. I don't know, most of you may have played it, I think. It used to be fun. So like that, if you keep looking at the other guy, is it one cognition or many cognition? Or if it is many cognition of the same thing, how you can say it is anadhigatam? is not something already known. Then the then the Siddhanti has two answers. See that, it's very interesting. One answer is, even though you are looking at it all the time itself is a qualification. That means it is there right now, it is there right now, it is there right now means the time is still different, correct? Therefore, each cognition is still unique only because it is qualified by the very time, he says. If you take the time as a qualifier of the knowledge, because it is still there, correct? That itself is a unique knowledge. It could have gone somewhere else also. So, if you qualify each cognition with time, then every cognition is still unique. So, it is anadigatam only. Like that, one argument is there. Or the other argument is the entire duration is one flow. So, you have to take it as only one cognition, not many cognitions, till it breaks. Correct? It is a single flow. Also, you can say both way it is argued. But anyway, all knowledge has to be unique. Is that clear? Then only it is knowledge, otherwise it becomes memory, smriti. And also the other thing is, it cannot be negated by any other cognition. Every cognition is a knowledge only if it is not negated by something else. So abadhitam is very important. Or in fact, if you want to include smriti also in valid knowledge, then the only definition is abadhitam. Whatever is that cannot be negated is knowledge. It cannot be negated by any other cognition. One cognition is there, it should not be negated by anything else, then it is knowledge. In this context, again, how do we determine the validity of the cognition, if you ask? Do we require one more cognition for the first cognition to become valid? This is a valid question, correct? How do you know you cognize something? How do you know it is valid? Do you require one more proof for that? Do you require one more cognition to validate this? There is a question like that. If you say I require one more cognition, what about that cognition? Whether the other cognition is valid or not, how will you know? Means it becomes infinite regress, correct? It's not useful. So that's why Vedantin, the Nayayika actually says you require one more cognition and some conditions and all they give for a cognition to be valid. But the Vedantin doesn't accept that. Vedantin says that also goes against our experience. Our experience always is I know. That's all. Correct, straight away. It's not that we have some kind of lag or anything in knowledge, in knowing something. There is no lag. Our experience is as soon as I cognize something, two things take place. In fact, this is part, I know this is part. Both takes place at the same time. That's what we say. The Nayayika says this is part takes place first. I know this part is a separate cognition, like that he argues. There also there is a difference. You understand, all these things are all discussed in detail, but these small details also will make a big difference later on in our Siddhanta. So everybody is arguing, keeping in mind lot of other implications here. So the Vedantin says, whenever a cognition takes place, if you see a part, this is part also takes place at the same time as I know this part. Because there are two things there. This is part, I know this part. But the Nayayika says this is part only takes place first. The I know this part has the this is part itself has a Vishaya separately. Okay, that is a separate cognition according to him. But we don't accept that. I'll tell you why. It's very interesting. Anyway, so the abadhitam jnanam, we say, and also a cognition does not require another cognition for its validity. If you say that, then you are called, it is called swatah pramanyam. Is that clear? That is the basic principle of our epistemology, is that all knowledge is self-valid till the time it is negated. Is that clear? If something is not negated, then it is self-valid. It does not require any other cognition to become valid. But that is our vyavahara also is like that, correct? We see something, we take it as valid and then we do vyavahara. Otherwise, nobody can do any vyavahara. If you are waiting for it to be validated and all that, it will become, you will be immobilized. You cannot do anything. So we say all cognition is self-valid. This is called Swatah Pramanyam. It is a very big statement. Understand that it has a lot of implication. That's why we say now we have to apply this to the Veda. That's where or any other Pramana. Correct? I always say. So if you say this is black or this is green, some green light is there, means that can only be revealed by your eyes. Correct? That's why this Anadhigatattvam and Abhaditattvam also applies to the Pramana also. Not only to the Prama, we have to take it as a characteristics of the means of knowledge. That means the means of knowledge should reveal to you something which is unique. Its field of revelation should be unique. Once you say that a means of knowledge can only reveal to me something which is unique, then you cannot ask for any proof of that. Understand that? Because by definition, you have already said whatever it is revealing is unique. Only eyes can reveal color. Means it can neither be proved nor disproved by any other pramana. Is that clear? That is the very characteristic of knowledge and means of knowledge also. This is a very important thing to understand. That's why it is silly if somebody comes and asks, how can you prove whatever is said in the Veda? Hey, Veda is a means of knowledge. That's all. You have to say only that much. That means you can neither prove whatever the Veda is revealing, nor you can disprove. All you can say is, I don't accept the Veda as a pramana. Okay, then you are an astika. Correct? That's fine. You can accept the eyes as your pramana. In fact, for many people, when I say that fundamentally we are believing our eyes only, correct? Even to get that point is very difficult for people. Because you cannot prove anything. Whatever the eyes are revealing, you have to go by that. You have to consider this it as valid, and you are doing vyavahara. That is the Swatah Pramanyam. So you have Swatah Pramanyam with reference to your Indriyas. And even inference also is similar, correct? Because whatever can be revealed by inference cannot be revealed by perception. That's why you are using inference, in fact. Even in a particular boundary condition, inference can only reveal certain things. Pratyaksha cannot. Means you have to go with inference. So the Anadhigatattvam, Abhaditattvam and all applies to inference also, or any means of knowledge it has to apply. Whatever a means of knowledge reveals, it can only be revealed by that means of knowledge, but it should not be negated by any other cognition. It should not be, a cognition can never be negated by any cognition. That cognition can come from the same pramana under a different condition, or it can come from some other pramana also. Is that clear? For example, Pratyaksha only reports to you mirage water, correct? So first you think water is there, you take it as valid, you are also thirsty. Then the Vyavahara is what? You go for the water. But when you go near, you see there is no water. Now, the perception from the place where you saw the water is more powerful than the perception you had from a distance. So obviously, the mirage perception is negated. It becomes Brahmana. Is it clear? So what do we say then? For Brahma or error, you require another cognition to negate it. That is called Paratah Pramanyam. Because to establish error, you require a stronger cognition. Because the original one now is weak. It is negated by the other stronger cognition. So only for error, it is Paratah Pramanyam for us. For Prama, it is Swatah Pramanyam. All error are always Parataha Pramanyam because it requires another stronger cognition to negate the original cognition. So this broadly, this is our theory of knowledge. Is that clear? Error, all knowledge is self-valid. All errors have to be negated or again negated by some other cognition. But the negating cognition is stronger and self-valid. Otherwise, that will also become infinite regress. So since the negating cognition is stronger and self-valid, it has negated the other one. Like that, error is established. So now you have understood what is knowledge, what is error, and what are the characteristics of knowledge and means of knowledge. Is that clear? The Anadhigatattvam and Abhaditattvam are the main thing. And from this only we say that the Veda, whatever it reveals, for it to be Veda, it cannot reveal whatever is known to you through Pratyaksha or Anumana. Is that clear? Veda cannot reveal whatever is revealed through Pratyaksha or Anumana. In fact, it is waste then. Why should the Veda reveal again whatever you can already know through Pratyaksha or Anumana? For that, why should you spend all your life studying the Veda? Is that clear what I am saying? The implications of this you should know. This is what Sayanacharya says in the introduction to the Rigveda Bhashya. Correct? In the Rigveda Bhashya Bhumika, he says, Pratyakshena anumityava yastu upayo na budhyate yenam vidanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. Like that it is there. Whatever cannot be known through Pratyaksha or Anumana, that alone we know through the Veda. And that is the Veda-ness itself. The Veda-ness means what makes the Veda Veda? Because it reveals to me something which is not available through any other means of knowledge. If that is the very definition of Veda as a Pramana, can the Veda be scientific? You understand now? Most people now do not understand our traditional Shastra at all, or how do we look at the Veda. And I'll tell you where this confusion comes from. Everybody thinks somehow science is great, correct? In fact, the scientific method itself is not that great. Understand that somehow, but we have been tricked into believing that science is great. And by saying scientific, we think that Veda is valid. We are validating the Veda, or whatever the Veda says is valid. So for that, simply all you have to do is put one adjective that it is scientific. But the very definition of knowledge is it is self-valid, correct? It doesn't require any validation from anywhere else. Is that clear? No knowledge can be in fact validated. Then why are you even looking for all this validity? That itself is again coming from only ignorance. People don't understand. In fact, another thing also we have to understand. All these so-called spiritual people, they want to put scientific everywhere. Yoga is scientific, Veda is scientific, Ayurveda is scientific, everything is scientific. The scientist doesn't say my science is Vedic or anything. You are only all the time saying this is scientific, scientific. In fact, they detest it. If you say that all these things are scientific, they think it's an insult to the science itself. This is also correct, I think. They will just say it's all pseudo-scientific only. You don't have to say, in fact, you are now making Veda also, you are denigrating really, because Veda is Veda because it is revealing to me something which is unique, correct? That is the whole proposition of it being a means of knowledge for us. So it should not be scientific. It's very important. We have to understand this. This is a very big misconception which is going around. If all our religious practices also, they want to reduce it to only some materialistic science and all that. Because one lady came and told me that Aditya Hridayam, you have to chant only outside your house. Why? Because I'm looking at the sun. Because our rishis were scientists, they knew that the sun rays will produce vitamin D and that is good for you. Now, this is the kind of explanation and all people are giving unnecessarily. Sun's rays may produce vitamin D. I'm not saying that. But our Shastras are not talking about any vitamin D. Understand that. We are talking about Apurva. We are talking about Adrishta Palam. Correct? Any prayer is for Adrishta Palam. Again, Adrishta Pala cannot be established by science and all that. If the Veda says that you do this, you will get punya, that is Veda Pramana only you have to go by. No science can come and prove nor disprove that. Then why are you unnecessarily using all our religious beliefs, everything you don't have to reduce to science? Understand? In fact, that is a very bad reductionism and it also spoils the bhavana. Our bhavana towards our devata and our shraddha and all that, it has to go along with that alone. None of our practices, religious practices should be scientific or need to be scientific. Understand that. Maybe scientifically also some study may come and say, okay, this is good in this way or that way. That is all fine. That is only secondary for us. We don't seek any validation from any science. We need not seek that. We have to be firm in our own traditions, our own practices, and we should be able to communicate this properly. Then even scientists appreciate this, correct? That's what I found out because I went to US I gave a talk to a lot of research scholars and scientists in a university. So I gave a talk about Veda and I introduced the Veda to the scientists and our knowledge systems. So when you present it like this, they really appreciate that. Because then they also understand from where we are coming, correct? And we are not unnecessarily claiming this is scientific and all that. Maximum what we can say is Veda is axiomatic, we can say. Whatever Veda is telling, scientists can take it as an axiom and then they can build some theory on top of that. Because they are doing is scientific method is what you have to have a hypothesis. But the hypothesis, it should be falsifiable according to the scientists. I hope you all know this much, that there is, how does science, the scientific knowledge, how is it growing means people give hypothesis, but the hypothesis itself cannot be something which can neither be proved nor disproved. Then it is not hypothesis. Understand that. All hypotheses should be falsifiable. Then only you can design an experiment. Correct? Then experimental design and all that you have to do. Then you make a study. There is something called null hypothesis and all that. Then you have to, based on your experimental study and data and statistics and all that, you have to see whether the null hypothesis is proven or not proven. Based on that, whether the hypothesis will be accepted as a valid theory or it will be rejected. This is the scientific method in general. So, in that again, the axioms can be anything, correct? If you see most of the scientific theories, the axioms are all pretty crazy. They are totally non-intuitive, in fact. For example, even special theory of relativity has an axiom that regardless of the speed of the observer, the speed of light is constant. This is totally counterintuitive, correct? Because normally what is our experience? Any speed of any object is relative to the observer's speed, correct? If you go in a train, if two trains are moving in the opposite direction, the other train looks double speed, correct? It looks very fast. Or if both the trains are going the same direction, for you it looks very slow. So that is our experience, that any movement of any object is relative to the speed of the observer. But then Einstein gave one axiom that the speed of light, with reference to speed of light, is always constant, regardless of the speed of the observer. That is the axiom on which the whole special theory of the relativity is based on. Like that, there are many things in science also. Scientists had some inspiration and all that, because like I said, all tarka, because science is only tarka or inference, but the inference has to be based on some axioms. The axioms themselves are not directly provable. Understand that. All they do is, through experiment, whatever this theory is predicting, those predictions, experimentally, if you prove, then the theory is proved. Indirectly, the axiom also is proved. You understand what I am saying? There is no prior proof of the axiom itself. Then it's not even an axiom. Understand that. Axiom means your first premise is the axiom. You start from somewhere. That is always an assumption only, correct? Based on that, you make a theory. Then theory has to give a lot of predictions. Those predictions only you can experimentally verify. If those predictions are verified, theory is valid, your assumptions are also valid. Correct? But even there, boundary conditions are all there. Because the experiments themselves may be conducted in, or even your predictions may be valid only under certain conditions. If those conditions are not met, then the predictions also may be different, or it may be another theory is required in a different condition and all that. You get what I am saying? This is the scientific method. Now, none of this applies to whatever the Veda says. Is that clear? Veda is an independent means of knowledge for us. Whatever it reveals, we have to take it as it is. Is that clear? So don't go for all this scientific mumbo jumbo. Most of it is pseudo-scientific. The real scientists are all, they have only contempt for people who talk like that. Because they neither know our tradition, nor they know what is the scientific method or how science works. Then it is a problem. You have to have an honest dialogue. Then the scientists also will appreciate what you are saying. So we have to be clear about this, and we don't have to be defensive about anything. Just by saying scientific, nothing becomes valid. Understand that. Most of the science itself is growing because it invalidates the previous knowledge. Correct? So, scientific need not be valid, non-scientific need not be invalid. Our Vedic knowledge is valid by itself, it is self-valid. If you are sure about that, you just go about doing whatever you are doing, whatever our Veda says you follow, then you will see the result in your own life. You don't require any external validation or anything like that. You have to be grounded in your own tradition. If you are rooted in your own tradition, you will benefit from that, because that's what you have to understand. So all our traditions are all highly sophisticated. Understand that. Our ancestors have done a lot of analysis, study, etc. And also they have benefited also from all these, whatever our religious practices. And that's how it has come to us even today, correct? These practices are all coming down to us from our ancestors. It's nothing new. And we don't require anything new also, really. If we are able to, even whatever the practices we have inherited, only so much has been lost already. Even whatever is there also it looks huge for me. Even now, one lifetime is not enough only to know a little bit of some branch of knowledge, correct? It's not enough. Even if you have an Ishta Devata, only for the Ishta Devata, what are all the things which are there? If you see, it is not enough for you. One lifetime is not enough to study and practice all that, correct? Then what to say? There is so much is there. Lot of knowledge is there. It's all so much, so many manuscripts, so many texts, so many practices, and many of them are still lying in some libraries and all that, correct? It's not even, or very few people are really practicing. So those things we have to take interest in our own traditions and approach it with the right attitude. That is very important. And then it will bless you, in fact. So, so I hope you have got this idea, correct? This very idea about what is knowledge, why knowledge is self-valid, what is the means of knowledge, and what it reveals, that it can neither be proved nor disproved. All these things have to be clear to us, and we can also teach this to our children. It's not something very hi-fi or anything, understand? It's a very simple thing actually. But maybe it has not been communicated clearly. That's why there is a lot of confusion going around. So these things, once we are clear, then we can embrace our tradition better. And then you can also follow everything properly. Otherwise, you have to force. Forcing will not work. Forcing may work up to a certain age. After that, they have to understand and own it up. Only if it is your own tradition and your own knowledge, you will also follow it with some enthusiasm. Correct? Otherwise, it becomes some mechanical or mechanically. No. Nowadays, in fact, children will never do anything. At least couple of generations back, even by my generation, everybody, nobody was just following because my father told me something or anything like that. Correct? We all wanted to understand, or we want to own it up ourselves. Then only you will do. Otherwise, anyway, they will rebel. Every teenager is a rebel anyway. But they should have had enough background knowledge as children so that they can come back. They have to do all the rebelling and all that, and they'll come back to sense, correct? At that time, they should have something to fall back on. If nothing is there, then it's a problem. So you can give all the knowledge first. Those samskaras will always help. Even if somebody has gone astray and all that, that happens always. Nothing new also. Everybody has come through teenage, youth and all that. We all know how we thought at a certain time, how we think later. So that's not a problem, but later on you should still have some samskaras to fall back on, then it will work out well. So this is something I think I wanted to talk to you, because we do talk about Shraddha a lot. Now you understand why Shraddha is so important. Because unless you have Shraddha in the Veda as a Pramana, it's not even knowledge for you. It will never work. Then you are all the time waiting for that knowledge to be proved somehow. When when really there is nothing required actually. You have to just go with that. Correct? It's valid in itself. Whatever it's revealing can never be negated. That's all you have to establish, even in your Mananam and all that. The Vedic knowledge stands by itself and it doesn't go against our experience also. Whatever anything which is said in our tradition, you can see that it all aligns with our experience. So that's all we require. So even let us say Papa Punya means it aligns with our experience, correct? Because in spite of our effort is not everything. In spite of our effort, there are always unknown variables, and the results are different. It's not as per your expectation. So then, how do you account for all those unknown variables? Means our tradition says it is Papa Punya. It's a reasonable proposition, correct? It's not against anything. It goes along with my experience. Then it is believable. So the other important thing is we should not swallow everything. A belief should be believable. Is that clear? That is another important thing. Every belief, because if a belief goes against established knowledge, it is not believable. Understand that. A belief cannot be illogical. It cannot go against even your perceptual knowledge or established knowledge. But if a belief is beyond established knowledge, it can neither be proved nor disproved, but it goes along with our experience, means it is believable. And particularly if the Veda says, then we have to take it as knowledge only, correct? Because Veda is a Pramana for us. So that's how we have to understand all these different things. Then it will make sense. So I hope with this understanding, you will all approach our Shastra and whatever our traditional culture and beliefs and lifestyle. Then you will see meaning in all that, in fact. Is it clear? You don't have to find scientific meaning everywhere. We have our own internal logic for everything. That is good enough. Understand? So that is the important thing I wanted to convey. So we will meet tomorrow or we'll meet in the evening again later. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om